Hey, 4-1. What's wrong with these niggas talking down on us, dog? Talking about we ain't doing what we do. Nigga, we done been out here about like 10 years, nigga. We getting old, goddammit. Let's get it. We made niggas put them rose bottles up. We made the whole city boss they like fuck. Boss they like fuck. We made niggas wanna go and hit hush. Bitch, we made niggas, you know we love to stunt. We made niggas put them rose bottles up. We made the whole city boss they like fuck. Boss they like fuck. We made niggas wanna go and hit hush. Bitch, we made niggas, you know we love to stunt.
Welcome back to the Georgia Tech Dynasty, everybody. Back with you here. My name's John Eads, as always. Apologies for the inactivity lately. It's been a long time since I posted a video here. As you guys know, I'm a student at college. You can check out some of my media work on my channel here. We are finishing up basketball season, and lacrosse season was just getting going as well. So it was a really busy time for me, but now as the spring is here, I'm a little more free to make these videos, so I will try to get as consistent as possible as I used to be here. Be sure to like the video and subscribe as we get going. So we're picking up with recruiting following our big win over Clemson, our second consecutive ranked win. We beat Oregon State, then we beat Clemson, and we got UNC coming up too, so another chance at a ranked win. We got recruiting this week, then a bye week next week, so a lot to get done in this episode. Let's dive in. As you can see, we got one team need left, and it's for quarterback. We have one senior on the roster, two freshmen, so it's not really a big need, but we need to add one more guy just to solidify some depth. A huge class. If you guys have missed some previous episodes recruiting-wise, I'll tag a couple right here. I think we've pretty much oversigned for right now. We actually need a couple of guys that are juniors to go pro, potentially. So I'm not sure how many more guys we're actually going to bring in this year in this class. I don't even know if I'll bring in another quarterback, to be honest with you. Might have to, but there's still a few guys on our board we're hoping to get. Calvin Johnson Jr., as you saw, being one of them. And if you missed that episode, yes, that is supposed to be Calvin Johnson's son. And Calvin Johnson, of course, went to Georgia Tech, so we're trying to get his son, bring him into our program here. On the topic of trying to see which juniors could go pro, I want to do a quick deep dive into our current roster and see who are some of the candidates to potentially leave this year and open up a couple more spots for us to bring in some more recruits. Chris Grant, true sophomore running back, our starter, been an absolute stud this season. I think he needs to play one more year, though, in compliance with the rules of this video game. We want him back, too, anyway, of course, because he's a just absolute dog. Moving over to wide receiver, though, a couple of candidates here. Thomas Nelson is one. He's had a really good start to the season, already tripled the amount of yardage he had last year. I'm not sure he's good enough to go pro at the end of this season, though. Nobody else in that wide receiver room is there as well. Really young in that spot. At tight end, though, we have Joey Hill, and he's a guy that's a backup. He's really good, two-way threat at tight end. He definitely has a pro skill set, but I'm not sure he's there yet. He might need another season. So in terms of offense, I'm not sure we're going to have any guys that are going to be declaring early. Offensive linemen really don't do that either, so don't expect anything there. Defensively, we have a couple of guys that could go pro early. Noah Miller is one of them. He's our alpha dog defensive end. He's got 4 sacks this season, but I'm not sure if he's going to be ready to go and if his numbers are going to be good enough by the end of this year. He's going to have to add a lot more sacks. Now, in our linebacker core, we do have guys that can go pro. Phil Jackson is definitely one of those. He's the best player on our team, middle linebacker. 35 tackles already this season. James Flanagan is another guy. He plays outside linebacker. Not great numbers thus far, but he makes a big impact for this defense. So potentially Jackson is all we got for now. Ryan Wood is another true junior. He's had a pretty good season at corner. Will Smith as well. He struggled at times, but he has a couple of picks this year. Nobody at free safety. And maybe Michael Little at strong safety, but he just hasn't done a whole lot to prove himself. And then our kickers are both seniors. So I don't know. We definitely oversigned. I'm not sure. We'll probably have 1, maybe 2 at the most juniors declaring and go pro to open up some spots, but clearly we just can't count on that. What could happen is potentially some transfers, transfer requests, guys leave the program, but I think that comes after signing day, so that's going to be interesting. We could also see some guys getting cut that I didn't recruit, so some walk-ons that have brought in previously that are just kind of sitting on this roster. I didn't recruit them, so I think it's different if I cut them in terms of if, or rather than if I recruited them and then I cut them. So we'll see. We'll play it by ear. I'm going to go ahead and schedule a visit here for Calvin Johnson Jr. I'm going to be a little selective with these visits because, as you guys know, we're pretty low in the amount of spaces that we have for recruits coming out of high school right now. So Calvin Johnson Jr., Mike Butler, probably going to be the only two that will end up visiting the school of the guys that are left on the board, because we still do need that quarterback, as you can see there. We got to bring in one more guy just to give us a little bit of depth, because next year we're only going to have 2 quarterbacks if we don't bring in one next year. Unless maybe there's a guy on our roster already that's kind of an athlete that we could move to quarterback potentially, and he could be the 3rd string guy there, but not ideal. So we got a corner left. We got a couple of offensive linemen, wide receiver, and Calvin Johnson Jr., and then Mike Butler, and we have no other needs besides quarterback. Obviously, our skill position, not the skill positions literally, but the skill we have at all of our positions is not great. It's all like C, D, B-, so we want to continue to work that up. It's not a good roster. It's a 1-star school. Let's keep that in mind. We came here from Oregon State, won 6 straight national championships there, and we're trying to do the same here. So we got to build up that talent slowly but surely. A lot of points left here to recruit with. We're only going to put them on Johnson and Butler because those are the only 2 guys we're actively recruiting. And then if we get Jackson to go pro, and we get, say, Ryan Wood, I guess, our starting corner to go pro, those 2 guys can take their spots, and we'd be just fine. But as of right now, we have the top class in the nation. And the reason why is because we're pretty much done signing and solidifying our class. We have 14 recruits, way more than anybody else. The next closest is like 6 because it's so early in the season. We've only played 4 games, and our recruiting class is pretty much all penciled in, which is great. I don't mind that at all. That's usually how I like to do it instead of avoiding that, the late fireworks and the drama and stuff on signing day. But I don't really see a lot of other ACC teams in the top 50, so we're certainly leading the pack there, leading the conference. And who knows, man, the season we're having right now, we might be on the trajectory to win the conference in year 1, which would just be crazy, something that nobody expected coming into this year for sure. That should be everything we need to do here in week 6. I think what I might do here before we advance is drip of the day. If you don't know what that is, we give a backup guy or someone that has a breakout game that isn't really well known on the channel yet some swag, and we spotlight them as a player that you guys should keep an eye on going forward. A lot of guys stepped up big last week, especially on the defensive end late in the game, but our offense was firing on all cylinders too. So let's see if we can find someone that we need to highlight for something they did in that Clemson game. Of course, we have our stars, which, we've already highlighted in the first couple of weeks, but we need other guys to step up too as we get later on into the season and need to build up some depth and whatnot. So who are we going to swag out this week? I think we might go with a wide receiver. No? How about a defensive guy? The defense really did play well. Fuller here. Let's go with him. He had a strip sack late in the game to not exactly put the game away, but kind of thwart some momentum that Clemson had gained as they were trying to make a late push and tie the game up. So we know Noah Miller's a stud at defensive end. We need more guys to step up on that D-line because it is one of our weaker position groups. Hopefully Fuller can be one of those dudes. Let's get him looking nice for the plays he made against the Tigers. All right, let's do 1 or 2 more because there were other guys that stepped up big. We haven't even hit our starting free safety yet, which is the guy I typically play user defense with, and Paul Wilson has been really good. Really no qualms with this guy. He's fast, he's a sure-handed tackler, and he's had a couple of pass deflections as well. So let's go ahead and get him looking nice because, again, that's the player that we play on. Usually the first thing I do is swag out the guy that I user with, so let's go ahead and take care of Wilson here. All right, so we did 2 this week. I might do a couple more next week because we have the bye week coming up. And, I'm always looking to get my players looking a little better because if we look bad, then we play bad. But we certainly haven't done that this year. Off to a 4-1 start, 2 ranked wins. Let's go ahead and advance into this bye week and see what we got to take care of with recruiting, etc. All right, here we are. We have 1 recruit ready to visit. That's Mike Butler. I still have to schedule him. As far as the other guys, just updates and recruiting numbers and whatnot. Not a whole lot going on there. All I really care about is Calvin Johnson Jr. and Mike Butler. The other guys will sit there probably until signing day. I might have to cut some of them if they're getting a little too close to committing because we can't have more guys on a roster than we can fit. But we'll play that by ear. Looks like we had We had the game of the week last week. We got XP for beating a top 10 team. I don't know if we had any players of the week. We'll check on that afterwards. Let's see if we're getting the rankings. So how about that? 2 ranked wins. We got to be close, right? There we go. For the first time in our time at Georgia Tech, we are ranked number 19 team in the country, and we can continue to climb up if we can beat North Carolina and these other teams that we'll see later on in the season. That's the beauty of the ACC that we didn't have in the Pac-12. Every week we take the field, there's a solid team. They're either going to be ranked or they're going to be close to being ranked, so we can build that resume so much easier than if we were at Oregon State, because we would always start the season in the top 5. We get dropped to number 3 for some reason, or number 7. We drop out of the top 5, even if we win every game. But it's because we play such bad teams every week, and all we can do is beat them by 70 points, yet we still get dropped. So we started in what, like 90-somethingth to start the season, I believe. I'll tag the preseason video right here. But now we're all the way up to 19th, and I tell you what, we're not done yet. Like I said, we got North Carolina coming up next week. Oregon State, let's see how they doing. Copeland's off to a pretty good start this year, although he was pretty bad against us a couple weeks ago. Dwayne Vincent holding it down. They're off to a 3-1 beginning to the campaign. Only lost to us by 13 a couple weeks ago. And then my former school, UTEP, still holding strong in the top 25 at number 12. Ever since I left, the Miners have really withstood that success and kept it going. So shout out to them for doing that. I certainly miss playing games there. I remember starting that dynasty 2 years ago, and now here we are with the Yellow Jackets. So right now we're 3rd in the ACC Coastal, perfect 3-0 conference record, 4-1 overall. So I'm not really sure why we're down here. I guess it's because Miami hasn't lost yet. They're 4-0, but we have more conference wins, so I don't really know what the deal is with that. We still got to play Miami, VTech, Virginia, Duke, and Pitt. We've only played NC State and Clemson within the ACC, and both of those were crossover games. So I'm excited to start getting into divisional play as we get going here. But let's go ahead and go back to recruiting and see if anything changed this week. I don't expect anything to have. This is going to be prolonged probably till the end of the season. Calvin Johnson Jr.'s recruitment, and then what we do with Mike Butler. We're sitting in 6th place, or 5th place rather, right now. Made up a little bit of ground, but everybody wants this guy. Northern Illinois, Ohio, a lot of MAC teams going after Calvin Johnson Jr. And then there's us, and our bonus isn't exactly big for him. So now I don't know what the deal is with this. You guys remember I had 0 points on O'Neal, McMillan, and Robinson, but for whatever reason they're all maxed out at 700. So I'm pretty sure I have recruiting assistant off. Yeah, I do. So I don't really know why they added the points to them automatically. If you guys know, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. But whatever. What I don't want to happen is for one of those guys to commit and then take one of the spots that Johnson Jr. or Butler could take. It's kind of a broken record at this point, but that's kind of what the deal is. Let's take a quick look at updated rankings for recruiting. We're still in 1st, and Purdue's kind of making up a little bit of ground. They got 8 recruits now, but we'll continue to monitor that. I don't expect us to have a top 10 class by the end of the year just because our class is built primarily on 3 stars. We got 13 of them and then a 2-star as well, I believe. So nobody in the Heisman watch for us yet. I mean, Chris Grant should be getting up there pretty soon. He's had a great start to the year, as has Matt Slater, our quarterback. Any players of the week conference-wise? No. We have had in the past. Will Smith a couple weeks ago against Oregon State. He had 2 picks. But nobody in there for players of the week. That's fine. I mean, we were the team of the week. That's all that matters to me. I don't really care about the individual stuff. I care more about how we play as a team. And if there was a Team of the Week award, it would certainly be us. But we're just going to continue to roll here. Let's do a little more drip of the day. Let's see if we can identify 2 more candidates for this and see if anybody got any XP boosts as well, because you'll typically see that after we pick up a pretty big win. Let's see who we'll get for drip of the day this week. All right, no XP boost for the quarterbacks or running backs. We do get one, though, for Sean Brown, true freshman wide receiver, is up to 73 overall. Carl Harrison, our starting tight end, gets a XP bump as well. He had a touchdown against Clemson, so maybe that factored in to that decision. Nobody on the offensive line. They don't usually get XP bumps that often anyways, nor does the defensive line, so nobody there. Nobody at the linebackers. Nope, not here as well. Corners typically will get some, but not this week. Free safeties, no. Strong safeties, no. All right, so the only XP bumps coming to Sean Brown and Carl Harrison, wide receiver and tight end. And that's pretty much all for this week. I do want to take one quick look at the stats leaders across the nation just to give you guys an idea of how we're stacking up. So Slater's in second in the country, over 1,300 passing yards. Good to see from him. He's a dual threat quarterback, so he gets the job done with his legs as well, as does Chris Grant. About 600 yards on the season through 5 games, rather, and he's top 16 in the country. Thomas Nelson, our leading wide receiver, with 361 receiving yards, and this kind of happens in every dynasty you do, but we're dominating the top 5 in tackles. Noah Miller, 22nd in the nation with 4 sacks, and Will Smith in 28th in the country with 2 interceptions. So we got guys hanging around in pretty much every category, and it's a big reason why we're off to a nice 4-1 start. That's all for the bye week, though. Not a whole lot of fireworks for this one. Let's advance into week 7, or 8 rather, where we'll see number 10 UNC. We'll preview that game and then cut the episode, get you guys set for the next one, which will be our game against the Tar Heels. All right, here we are. Another chance to prove ourselves here. They drop us 1 spot in the polls after taking a week off. Next game on the road in Chapel Hill against number 11 North Carolina, who's off to a 4-2 start this season. Another great opportunity for us to add a nice ranked win to our resume, and we're really fired up about it. We haven't won a road game yet this season, I believe. We took down, we just did. What am I talking about? We lost Notre Dame in the opener, and we just beat Clemson in Death Valley. So we're riding into this game hot. Lee Corso thinks so as well. He's taking us in this matchup. I hope you guys come back and decide to watch it because it should be a great game. So thanks so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back soon with this game between Georgia Tech and UNC.